And now, the moment you've all been waiting for. You're tuned in to Tapped Out. Hosted by Brendan Tobin and Sean Levine. Only on the BetQL network.
Appreciate you checking us out. That is Brendan. I'm the sports machine, Sean Levine. And we welcome in friend of the show, MMA Kelton, who has a very original Twitter handle. You can follow him at MMA Kelton. So, man, last week we got a chance to see the return of the GOAT, John Jones, and we will definitely get to that. We'll definitely get to Valentina Shevchenko. We got a lot of stuff to talk about. But let's go ahead and start with the main event of the UFC Vegas card tonight. Petr Yan taking on Merab Dvalishvili. Look, I think Petr Yan at one point was great, was a top 10 pound-for-pound fighter, should be a minus 250 favorite. Not now. And I know that he hasn't lost his fights drastically or anything like that. Why is Merab such an underdog in this fight tonight?
Man, I think it's just the respect for the former champion. Not only that, just the way Merab fights, like his strengths kind of don't really work too well here against Petr Yan, in my opinion, because like you look at what Merab's really good at is like cardio, which Petr Yan also has, volume, which Petr Yan also has. If anything, I'd say Petr Yan might even have the advantage in those areas. And it's just, I don't know, man. It's mostly just respect for the former champion, I would say. Just stronger strength of schedule. Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much what I chalk it up to.
If he is able to pull this off tonight, Kelton, if Merab can get his hand raised, what does he do next? Does he take on Sean O'Malley because he's stayed true to this whole I'm not gonna fight my guy Aljamain Sterling? So does he sneakily root for Aljo to lose to Triple C? Where does a guy go from here where he's really good in the division if he keeps a win streak going, but he won't fight the champion?
Yeah, that's a good question. I haven't really even thought about the whole Merab Aljo as teammates thing. I guess you just kind of got to sit back and wait to see what happens with Aljo and Cejudo. I think if Cejudo were to come back, bring that same Triple C energy and get that belt, I think you might be looking at a Merab and Cejudo, and maybe an Aljo versus O'Malley. Because you look at O'Malley's win against Yan, a lot of people aren't convinced he won that fight. So I don't know if they're going to shoot O'Malley straight into a title fight. But if Aljo does beat Henry Cejudo, I think Merab versus O'Malley is your clear choice for a number one contenders fight.
All right, let's work our way up what we saw last Saturday night, Kelton, where obviously we saw John Jones take out Ciryl Gane. We saw the great Valentina Shevchenko go down. But first, I want to ask you about Bo Nickel. If you could just finish this sentence for me. Bo Nickel is the best UFC prospect since
Khamzat Chimaev. Yeah, I mean, this guy is unreal. It's not just the wrestling. His jiu-jitsu is fantastic. He has a pretty credentialed BJJ background as well. You've seen him on the regional scene, absolutely starch guys on the feet. Like, he's got power in his hands. It's just a matter of developing at this point. But I mean, he's got it all, man. Like, dude can crack, can wrestle, can grapple.
All right, so what if we saw him step into the octagon? Let's say we actually saw that fight come to fruition, because we brought Bo Nickel on the show, and I was kind of messing with him. Like, I've heard Khamzat's name come out of your mouth, and he didn't back down from it. I tend to think that I'm talking about right now, that Bo Nickel could win that fight. I think he'd come in as an underdog, but I think he might actually win the fight. What say you?
I don't know if he's quite seasoned enough, but if you really think about it, would Khamzat be able to stuff the takedowns of Bo Nickel? Maybe. I mean, we saw Jamie Pickett. Jamie Pickett was able to stuff the takedown briefly there, and then he kind of got hit in the nuts and went down. Not that matters. Bo Nickel would have eventually... Bo Nickel would have eventually taken him for a ride regardless, but no, I wouldn't think about that fight just quite yet. I think you build up Bo Nickel. I know Bo Nickel does have a fight. I know who it's against. I can't say quite yet, but no, just build up the guy. He'll get there eventually. I mean, you could be looking at a future where Bo Nickel and Khamzat Chimaev are the two best middleweights in the world one day.
The other guy who's not really a prospect, I mean, look, his resume is getting very impressive in Shavkat Rakhmonov. His win last week against Jeff Neal, man, what a hell of a fight that was. Huge back and forth, and then just for good measure, does finish it there in the third round. Standing up, calls out Colby Covington. How much does that matchup intrigue you? If not, what do you think would work for Shavkat? And then really, what is the limit on this guy?
I think the Colby matchup would a lot. It's just I feel like Colby would run away from that fight if we're being honest here. So I love Shavkat. Shavkat is like the UFC's dream. He's filling out a market that hasn't really been filled out before. He's got all the skills in the world. And on top of that, he's extremely exciting. This dude is putting on banger after banger. This man is unreal, and I can't wait to see him fight very soon and again in the future.
And then, of course, Valentina Shevchenko. I mean, she was trying to complete the 8th ruby, and then she ends up going out and losing. It feels like, I don't know, after Amanda went down to Juliana, it was like, maybe this is what ends up happening eventually. How surprised were you with that result?
Yeah, I mean, I was very surprised. I had Valentina in a parlay. Definitely was not expecting that result. But this is MMA. If you're gonna do high risk moves in a high level title fight, like a spinning move, you can't be giving up your back to people, man. And we've seen, it wasn't just this fight, we've seen Alexa Grasso's grappling. I can't remember off the top of my head, but I want to say she armbarred somebody in recent years. But like her grappling, even in the Carla Esparza fight, like that wasn't one-way traffic for Carla Esparza. Like Grasso was having good grappling moments against a super high level grappler. So it's like, yeah, it was kind of just a lapse of judgment on Valentina's part. Now, it could be simple to just say, well, don't throw any spinning shit next fight and Valentina's going to cruise. But, man, I kind of feel like there's a big trend in the UFC where once a champion loses a belt, it tends to not go well afterwards. Now, you brought up the Amanda Nunes one. That was kind of the outlier in that trend. But, yeah, I guess it's a very intriguing matchup, and I feel like it's one you have to make there with Grasso and Shevchenko. And I'm no line odds maker, but if I were to set a line on that fight, I would slightly favor Valentina Shevchenko.
Do you think that is, Kelton, if they were to run it back? Like, is that a case of, Valentina was looking good? Because we were talking about this the last segment about when Amanda was able to run it back against Juliana. I think we all just saw Amanda Nunes, who didn't look herself the first fight around. And so we thought we were going to get a better product the next time out. What did you think? Do you think Valentina can improve a lot outside of just making, obviously, the mistake that Alexa was able to pounce on? But if they are able to run that back, is she just so savvy that she can find another path to victory if they were to go at it again?
See, I find this one a little different than the Nunes one, because I feel like with the Nunes one, there was like clear indications that her head might have been in other places. She was starting to lose a little bit of that hunger and desire. Whereas Valentina, that never went away. Like she has always seemed hungry. The lead up into this fight didn't seem like she lost any interest or anything like that. She just straight up got her back taken and lost. So I don't know. And it wasn't even just that fight, guys. It was the Taila Santos fight where Taila Santos made it very close. Now, I'm not saying Valentina's declining, but I do think the division is starting to catch up to her. So, I'm super intrigued with the rematch. Like, I think Grasso is also getting better. You could see an even better version of her here. And it wasn't just the back take. Grasso, she won the first round. Her boxing looked incredible. So, like, I don't know, man. I view that rematch as one of the better women's fights you can make in the UFC right now. Like, it's awesome.
And then, of course, in the main event, it was John Jones, the return of the GOAT, taking on Ciryl Gane. And I think that a lot of people started betting John the closer we got to the fight. And then once they closed that cage door, everybody who had their money on John felt pretty good. And then about 3 minutes later, they had more money in their account. Isn't it kind of foolish to look back in hindsight and think that anybody was going to bet Ciryl Gane based on not just that John won the fight, but he looked like John Jones?
I mean, yeah, in hindsight, it was a bad bet, but like pre-fight, like there was arguments to make. I mean, you had dog money on Ciryl Gane. There was a lot of question marks on John Jones. The last time we saw him, he was having some real close fights with Thiago Santos and Dominic Reyes. Is John Jones starting to fall back a little bit? This is his first fight at a new weight class. How is he going to look with an extra 43 pounds on? And I mean, John Jones shut all those people up for sure. Showed up, looked amazing, did his thing. Like, yeah, I think everybody kind of knew that if John Jones had a path to victory here, it would be the grappling. But I don't think even John Jones bettors knew that it was going to be that quick and easy. But man, is he good, and he is absolutely the greatest of all time in this sport. Cyril Gane, he's got what, like 12 fights. Like, he'll be back. He'll keep getting better. I saw, funny enough, Khabib Nurmagomedov extended an invitation to Cyril Gane to come over to Dagestan and learn how to wrestle. Hey, I mean, if that happens, Cyril's a freak athlete, so it's like, it's not out of the imagination to think he can improve big time there. But yeah, in hindsight, he just absolutely, he wasn't ready for a guy like John Jones.
Kel, before we get you out of here, looking ahead to next week, we got the trilogy against Leon Edwards, Kamaru Usman. How do you like that one going, man?
Man, I could sit here and talk about this fight for a long time because I have a lot of thoughts on it. I'll make it short and sweet. Plus 200 on Leon Edwards. I'm on it, guys. I am very much on it. I was talking a little bit with the Valentina one, with the trends of the former champions losing their belt and not quite looking the same. So Kamaru Usman, he took the belt from Tyron Woodley. When Woodley lost that belt, he was never quite the same. Tyron Woodley, when he took that belt from Robbie Lawler was never quite the same. Robbie Lawler, when he took that belt from Johnny Hendricks was never quite the same. Add in the factor of Kamaru Usman is coming off a devastating head kick loss. Add in the fact that this one is now in Leon Edwards' home country. I think this is yes, Kamaru Usman backers can absolutely back the fact that he was winning the majority of that fight. However, this is a brand new fight with brand new factors. And man, another thing, Kamaru Usman's entering the back half of his 30s. So it's like plus 200 on an extremely high level fighter in Leon Edwards. It's like, I feel like I got to take that all day. But am I going to be surprised if Kamaru Usman regains his belt? No, because if he is still prime Kamaru Usman beats prime Leon Edwards. So it's very, very intriguing. But at plus 200, I think you got to go with Leon.
At MMA Kelton is our guest. He says take Leon Edwards. Kelton likes the dog, if you know what I mean. Coming up next, we talk more about fighting right here on the BetQL Network.